Amid the noise of life where everything urges you to be strong, to succeed, how long has it been since you were truly still inside? You might be exhausted from striving, lost beneath expectations, or quietly missing the peace you once had. But remember this, it is not the world that breaks you, it is the mind left untrained. Stoic philosophy once taught, you have power over your mind, not outside events. True strength does not come from controlling everything around you, but from mastering your reaction within. In today's video, you'll discover 10 Stoic rituals, mental practices to restore calm, forge discipline, and build the inner strength to stand steady in chaos. These aren't lofty theories, but timeless tools that guided great minds like Marcus Aurelius and Seneca through life's fiercest storms. Take a deep breath, set aside the noise of the world, because right now, in this very moment, is when you begin again, from within. 1. Train the mind, rebuild the inner empire. Imagine your mind as a mighty empire. Every thought, no matter how small, is a brick quietly building or slowly tearing down its walls. One who cannot control their thoughts is like a king ruled by his own rebellious army. But the wise understand this. Every victory begins within, and every collapse also starts there. Marcus Aurelius once wrote in Meditations, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." That statement is not merely philosophy, it's a compass for living. Because we cannot command the storms of life, betrayal, disappointment, or unexpected chaos, but we can always command our reaction to them. The one who masters the mind does not live in peace because the world is calm, but because they've learned to create calm within the storm. The mind is like a garden. If you don't plant seeds of awareness and discipline, weeds of anxiety and negativity will take over. Every day, you are programming your brain with something: news, social media, comparison, or instead, wisdom, stillness, and gratitude. Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." And it is in those reactions that the mind is trained. Every time you choose calm over anger, understanding over judgment, action over complaint, you are laying another brick in the fortress of your wisdom. The wise don't wait for motivation to train their minds. They see it as a sacred duty. Just like muscles, the mind must be worked out daily. Read, journal, meditate, or simply spend a few quiet minutes observing your own thoughts. When you can observe the mind, you begin to master it, instead of being ruled by it. Seneca once warned in Letters from a Stoic, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." We torment ourselves not because the world is cruel, but because our minds are untrained to face reality. A weak mind magnifies fear, exaggerates failure, and traps you in illusions. But a strong mind knows to distinguish between what can be controlled and what cannot, and focuses energy on action, not anxiety. Training the mind doesn't mean becoming cold or emotionless. It means learning to think with intention. It means choosing calm, even when everything around you is collapsing. It's understanding that you cannot control the wind, but you can adjust the sails. When you begin to replace negative thoughts with awareness, when instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" you ask, "What is this teaching me?" you turn adversity into the gym of the mind. A great empire is not built in a day, but through consistent choices every morning. Every time you choose to read a page instead of scrolling your feed, to think before you react, to embrace silence over noise, you are rebuilding your throne. And when that empire stands firm, no storm can invade you again. Remember, the world is always trying to program you through advertising, opinions, comparisons, and fear. But the wise choose to reprogram themselves with knowledge, discipline, and stillness. Because ultimately, as Marcus Aurelius reminded us, the happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. To train the mind is to train destiny. When you master your mind, you master your life. 2. Train the emotions. Learn to stay calm amid the storm. There are days when you don't need anyone to hurt you. Just one negative thought is enough to weigh your heart down. Sometimes it's not the world that causes your pain, but the way you react to it. Emotions are like waves. If you don't learn how to steer, they will drown you. But if you master them, you can ride them farther than you ever imagined. Emotional control is not suppression. It's the art of observing emotions without letting them control you. Seneca once wrote in Letters from a Stoic, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." Much of the pain we feel does not come from the present, but from what we exaggerate in our minds. We replay the past with regret, predict the future with anxiety, and call it reality. But the wise understand that no one can escape emotion. One can only learn to face it with equanimity when it arises. Marcus Aurelius, in Meditations, reminded, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. And this you have the power to revoke at any moment." This simple truth reveals that emotions do not come from events, but from the meanings we assign to them. A criticism, a cold glance, a small failure, none of these have power on their own. It is our interpretation that gives them the power to wound. Training your emotions doesn't mean denying pain, it means observing it with clarity. When you feel anger, don't rush to react. Step back and ask, why does this hurt me so much? When you feel sad, don't pretend to be strong. Face that sadness and gently say, I am sad, and that's okay. This recognition creates distance between you and your emotion, and in that distance, calm is born. Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Reaction is humanity's final power. When you choose to respond consciously instead of instinctively, you transform emotion into strength. Someone may anger you, but only if you allow them to take your peace. An event may hurt you, but only if you choose to stay in the pain instead of learning from it. In a world full of collisions and chaos, training your emotions is training your inner freedom. True freedom does not lie in avoiding pain, it lies in not being ruled by it. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. That strength begins the moment you steer your emotions, instead of being swept away by them. Imagine yourself as a lake. When the wind blows, the surface ripples, but if the lake is deep, the bottom remains still. Those with steady emotions are the same. They feel every wave, yet within them is a deep, unshakable stillness. To reach that stillness requires time, discipline, and patience. Each time you choose silence over reaction, empathy over anger, you make your inner lake a little deeper. Emotional mastery is a journey, not a destination. It demands that you fail many times, that you get angry, fall apart, and then learn to rise more gently. Emotions are not enemies. They are stern teachers guiding you to self-understanding. Once you learn their lessons, pain ceases to be a burden and becomes the material of growth. Finally, as Seneca wrote, "He who is brave is free, and there is no greater courage than facing your emotions without letting them rule you." You cannot stop the waves from coming, but you can learn to surf them. Serenity is not the absence of emotion. It is feeling without breaking, hurting without hardening, and living with unshakable inner freedom. 3. Train self-control. Master yourself to attain true freedom. There are moments when you feel anger rising because of someone's words, when a single comment throws you off balance, when a small situation steals your peace. In those moments, you believe you're simply reacting, yet in truth, you've handed over control of yourself to the outside world. The Stoics called this spiritual slavery when emotion, desire, or impulse rule over reason. That is why training self-control is the first step toward reclaiming real freedom. Epictetus wrote in Discourses, "No man is free who is not master of himself." The line rings like a warning. No matter your power, wealth, or fame, you remain a prisoner if you cannot govern your emotions, desires, and behavior. Freedom is not the ability to do whatever you want. It is the strength to refrain from doing what you should not. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily in meditations, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." When you control your mind, you control your world. Self-mastery is the art of steering yourself through storms of emotion and temptation. Others may insult you, but they cannot make you lose your composure unless you allow it. Life may test you, but it cannot defeat you unless you surrender. Self-control begins with awareness. You cannot master what you do not notice. Observe yourself in the small moments. How do you react when anger arises? When temptation appears, do you recognize your limit? When you're weary, do you let bad habits take over? It is within these seemingly ordinary moments that you either build or lose your power over yourself. Seneca wrote, "Most powerful is he who has himself in his own power." True strength lies not in ruling others, but in ruling oneself. When you can stay calm in an argument, remain silent before anger, or walk away when pride flares, you've won the hardest battle, the inner one. For no external enemy is as dangerous as the one within weakness, ego, and impulse. The Stoics regarded self-control as the summit of virtue. It doesn't make a person cold, it makes them deliberate. Self-control is not the killing of emotion, but the guidance of it, knowing when to let the heart speak and when to let reason lead. Like a skilled rider, you don't destroy the horse to tame it, you train it to obey. So it is with emotion. Learn to steer it, not to flee from it. Training self-control also means creating space between stimulus and response. When someone offends you, there exists a small gap between their words and your reaction, and in that gap lies your power to choose, to react impulsively or to respond with wisdom. Epictetus taught, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Each time you choose calm over anger, you widen that gap, the space of inner freedom. But self-control is not only about managing emotion, it is discipline toward desire. The modern world constantly urges us to consume, indulge, and react instantly. The Stoics chose the opposite. They practiced voluntary discomfort, fasting, cold baths, simplifying needs to remind themselves that happiness does not depend on comfort. Marcus Aurelius said, "The more we value things outside our control, the less control we have." When you stop letting the world define your joy, you begin to experience true freedom. Self-mastery doesn't come in a single moment. It's built from hundreds of small victories over yourself. Every time you choose silence instead of argument, persistence instead of surrender, action instead of excuses, you carve another mark into the monument of inner freedom. And remember, self-control doesn't make you rigid, it makes you resilient. It's the cool breeze in the desert of anger, the light that lets you see yourself clearly amid the shadows of desire and impulse. Once you master yourself, no one can control you again. As Epictetus affirmed, "Freedom is the right to live as we wish. But to live as you truly wish, you must first learn to master yourself." 4. Train discipline. Discipline is the highest form of self-love. There is a truth that everyone must face as they grow. There is no freedom greater than the freedom born of discipline. While many believe freedom means doing whatever they want, the Stoics understood that true freedom begins only when you master yourself. And to reach that point, you must learn to cultivate discipline not as punishment, but as the deepest act of self-love. Marcus Aurelius wrote in Meditations, "At dawn, when you have trouble getting out of bed, tell yourself, 'I have to go to work as a human being.'" A simple line, yet it captures the essence of discipline, rising and acting out of duty to your own existence. The Stoic does not wait for inspiration. They act because it is the right thing to do. Discipline is not harshness. It is a form of self-respect. You exercise not because you hate your body, but because you love it enough to keep it strong. You study, work, and persist in your goals, not because someone forces you, but because you believe you deserve to become better. Discipline is love, but the kind of love that doesn't rely on promises, only on action. Seneca once wrote, "No man is more unhappy than he who never faces adversity, for he is not permitted to prove himself." And discipline is exactly how we face adversity every day in the quiet, repetitive moments when no one is watching. When you choose to read instead of scroll, to finish your work instead of delaying it, you silently affirm your worth. No one is born disciplined. It is forged through daily, consistent choices. Epictetus emphasized this in discourses. No man is free who is not master of himself. One who cannot control his desires, emotions, or habits still lives in the chains of instinct. Discipline does not imprison you, it liberates you from what is meaningless. It is the bridge between dreams and reality, between who you wish to be and who you are becoming. The beauty of discipline is that it doesn't demand perfection, it only demands persistence. Each time you fall, discipline is the hand that helps you rise. Each time you grow weary, it reminds you why you began. The disciplined person is not one who never feels tired, but one who keeps going despite it. Look at those you admire: athletes, creators, great minds of history. They all share one trait: consistency. Discipline is what transforms inspiration into habit, habit into character, and character into legacy. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. Don't debate what's right, do it." Discipline is the language of action, and like true love, discipline isn't always sweet. It's waking up early when your body begs for more sleep. It's saying no to short-term pleasure for long-term fulfillment. It's working in silence while others indulge in ease. Yet in that hardship lies a profound comfort. You are becoming someone you respect. Discipline is the bridge between who you are today and who you aspire to be. It requires time, patience, and faith that every small act matters. One morning, you win over laziness. One night, you keep a promise to yourself. Those are the bricks that build a resilient life. Remember, discipline does not kill freedom, it creates it. When you can control yourself, you are no longer ruled by desire, emotion, or circumstance. In that moment, you are not merely living, you are leading your life. Discipline is how you tell yourself every day, "I love you enough to do what's hard." 5. Train your purpose, the flame that guides you through the dark. There are mornings when you wake up unsure why you are alive at all. Everything feels repetitive, dull, and fading. You work, eat, laugh, yet deep inside, there's a quiet emptiness. It's not the exhaustion of the body, but the fatigue of a soul without direction. Because no life can feel meaningful without a sense of purpose. Without it, we are like ships without a compass, easily swept away by the winds of opinion, the waves of emotion, and the storms of circumstance. Marcus Aurelius wrote in Meditations, "A man's worth is no greater than his ambitions. The value of a person does not lie in wealth or fame, but in the depth of his aspirations and the purpose he pursues. When you have a clear purpose, each day ceases to be a mere repetition of duties. It becomes a meaningful step along your path. The Stoics believed that to live with purpose is to live in accordance with nature, our highest rational and moral self. Seneca wrote in Letters from a Stoic, "If a man knows not to which port he sails, no wind is favorable. If you don't know where you're going, no matter how favorable the wind, you'll still drift aimlessly." And that is the quiet tragedy of modern life. People stay busy all their lives, yet never truly move forward. Training your sense of purpose doesn't mean chasing grand slogans or hollow ambitions. It is the journey of rediscovering what gives your life meaning, what makes you wake up each morning with resolve, not because the world expects it, but because you choose to live with direction. Some find purpose in creation, some in service, and others in nurturing the spirit of those around them. Purpose doesn't need to be magnificent. It only needs to be honest enough to keep you steady when life trembles. Epictetus once said, "First, say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. First, decide who you wish to become, then act in alignment with that vision." This is not just advice, it's a blueprint for life. Each day, ask yourself, does what I'm doing today bring me closer to that person? When the answer is yes, even the smallest task becomes meaningful. Purpose is not something you find once and keep forever. It evolves and matures as you do. When young, it may be success. With time, it may grow into peace, contribution, or simply presence in each moment. To train your purpose is to train your ability to ask, does this matter to me? And to have the courage to let go of what no longer does. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." Purpose is not buried in lofty philosophy, it's expressed in daily action. Begin by living well in the role you have now as a student, a child, a friend, a colleague, and you'll see that purpose has always been right in front of you. You simply needed stillness to recognize it. Ultimately, purpose is not a destination but a guiding flame along the way. It gives you strength to endure hardship, persistence when others give up, and serenity even when results haven't arrived. Seneca once said, "The man who has a why to live can bear almost any how." When you know why you exist, you can endure almost anything. Remember, purpose is not something granted to you, it's something you build. Each day you take one step toward what truly matters to you, you've already stopped drifting. Because a purposeful life doesn't have to be perfect, it only needs a direction. And that direction, however slow, will always lead you toward a life of depth, value, and peace. 6. Train patience, the power of those who do not hurry. We live in an age of speed, a world where everyone wants to succeed overnight, to see results without enduring the process. Yet true value, lasting achievement, and deep growth never come in an instant. Success is a process, not a miracle. And in a world that constantly urges us to go faster, patience becomes the quiet art of the strong. Marcus Aurelius wrote in Meditations, "No great thing is created suddenly. Nothing great is born overnight. The mighty oak takes years to grow tall and firm, and a steadfast soul is forged through time and trials." The Stoics understood this. Every process has its rhythm, and forcing time only robs us of peace. Patience is not passivity. It is the calm strength of those who know how to wait while still acting. Seneca once said in Letters from a Stoic, "Time heals what reason cannot. Time can mend what logic cannot solve." When you don't see results immediately, it doesn't mean you've failed. It may simply mean that time is teaching you what success never could. To train patience is to accept that every flower blooms in its own season. We often compare ourselves to others. Seeing their success, we grow restless. Seeing ourselves lag, we doubt our worth. But as Epictetus reminded us, no great thing is created suddenly, any more than a bunch of grapes or a fig. Grapes need time to ripen, and so do people. Harvesting too soon leaves the fruit sour. Waiting too long makes it fall away. Patience is knowing when to keep sowing and when to quietly trust the harvest to come. Amid life's trials, patience is the anchor that keeps you from drifting into despair. When work slows down, when relationships strain, when your dreams seem to stand still, these are not endings, but moments to learn endurance. Marcus Aurelius urged himself, "Endure and renounce. Endure not because you are weak, but because you understand that all things mature in their time. The impatient live in restlessness and anxiety. The patient possesses a quiet peace. They don't push the river because they know it will find its way. They don't demand outcomes because they trust their effort. Patience doesn't slow your journey, it ensures you move in the right direction." In Discourses, Epictetus said, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. To grow, you must be willing to be seen as slow, misunderstood, or underestimated. Only those who dare to move slowly with purpose can go far." Training patience is also learning to trust the process. Each day you plant a small action. Each day you keep a good habit. This is the universe testing your persistence, asking whether you're steady enough to deserve what you desire. And on the days when nothing seems to change, patience itself is at work shaping you, humbling you, and preparing you for maturity. Seneca once wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." Life is not too short, we simply waste it in haste. When you learn patience, time stops being your enemy and becomes your ally in growth. In the end, patience doesn't delay success, it protects it. What comes quickly fades quickly, but what is built through time and discipline endures. Patience is the mark of maturity, of faith in yourself, and in the natural order of life. So slow down, breathe deeply, and remind yourself, no great thing is created suddenly. Because sometimes, the best thing you can do is to keep sowing, keep believing, and let time do its quiet, perfect work. 7. Train silence when strength speaks without words. In a world where everyone wants to be heard, those who know how to be silent stand apart. Amid the endless noise of social media, arguments, and performative self-display, silence becomes the art of the strong. For only when the mind is still can we hear the true voice within, and only through silence can we discern which actions are worth taking and which words are worth speaking. Marcus Aurelius wrote in Meditations, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." This is not just a lesson in forgiveness, but a reminder of the strength found in restraint. When someone insults you, when others try to provoke your anger, silence is not weakness, it is a strategy. The wise do not respond with noise, they respond with calm and action. Epictetus taught in the Enchiridion, "Be silent for the most part, or speak only what is necessary. Be silent most of the time, or speak only when it matters." In a world obsessed with reacting fast, commenting on everything, and proving one's worth constantly, silence is a quiet rebellion of composure. It shows that you have nothing to prove because you already know your value. Training silence does not mean withdrawing from life. It means learning to choose when to speak and when to remain still. The wise understand that not every argument is worth entering, not every criticism deserves a reply. As Seneca reminded in Letters from a Stoic, "It is better to conquer our anger than to defeat our enemies." To conquer your anger is worth far more than conquering another, and sometimes the greatest victory is not to fight at all. Silence is the strength of the self-controlled. When you are silent, you are directing your energy instead of being ruled by emotion. The undisciplined person says everything they think. The self-mastered one pauses, reflects, and speaks only when their words add value. Marcus Aurelius advised, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." Stoic silence does not arise from fear, but from wisdom, the understanding that words have power, and power must be used with purpose. In a crowd, the strong do not need to shout to prove themselves. They let their actions speak, for action is the one language that cannot be faked. A person may talk well, write beautifully, but only their deeds reveal their essence. The Stoic does not argue about virtue, they live it. They do not debate values, they embody them. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." Silence is also how you protect your inner peace. Every time you react to something meaningless, you give away your precious energy. When someone insults you and you stay silent, they are left alone with the noise of their own words. When the world grows loud, silence allows you to hear the quiet direction of your heart. To the Stoics, silence is a wall that guards the mind from chaos. In that stillness, you learn to observe instead of judge, to understand instead of react. Training silence is also training patience. To stay silent in the face of wrongness takes courage. To stay silent when misunderstood takes wisdom. And to stay silent amidst the temptation to show off takes true confidence. The weak shout to be noticed. The strong remain quiet to stay focused on what truly matters. And remember, silence does not make you weaker, it makes you deeper. It gives you space to think, to observe, and to act with meaning. Sometimes the loudest voice in the room is not spoken at all. It is the quiet of a soul that no longer needs to prove anything. As Epictetus said, "Silence is safer than speech." In silence, you not only preserve your peace but reclaim your power, the power of one who is truly strong. 8. Train gratitude. When happiness lies not in what we have, but in how we see. People often spend their lives chasing what they don't have, so much so that they forget what already lies in their hands. We pursue wealth, recognition, and approval, unaware that it is this endless hunger itself that devours our inner peace. Gratitude is the antidote to desire, the light that guides the soul through the darkness of never enough. Marcus Aurelius wrote in Meditations, "Very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself, in your way of thinking. Very little is required for happiness is born from how we choose to see life. Gratitude does not make the world less harsh, but it allows us to see light even amid the shadows. The grateful do not live because everything is perfect. They live peacefully because they understand that everything is temporary and therefore precious." Seneca said in Letters from a Stoic, "He is a wise man who does not grieve for the things which he has not, but rejoices for those which he has. The wise do not mourn what they lack, they celebrate what they have." When we stop comparing and start appreciating, we realize how rich we already are. A glass of clean water, a roof over your head, a friend who listens. Sometimes the smallest things are the foundations of true peace. The Stoics believed that gratitude is the root of inner freedom. When you are grateful, you are no longer a slave to desire or dissatisfaction. You stop measuring yourself against others. You stop envying what isn't yours. And in that stopping, the mind becomes free. Epictetus reminded his students in discourses, "Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. True wealth lies not in abundance, but in sufficiency." Practicing gratitude is a form of meditation. Each morning when you open your eyes, pause for a few seconds to thank life for breath, for awareness, for another day to begin again. Each night before sleep, Recall at least 3 things you're grateful for, no matter how small. A stranger's smile, a warm cup of coffee, the chance to correct a mistake. Such simple rituals train your mind to focus on fullness, not lack. Those without gratitude live in fear of loss. They cling to everything: money, reputation, people, and when any of it slips away, they collapse. The grateful, on the other hand, understand that everything is a temporary gift of life. Thus, they cherish what they have while they have it, and stay calm when it departs. This attitude keeps their souls serene amid change. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a privilege it is to be alive, to think, to enjoy, to love. Each dawn is a privilege to live, to think, to love." When you live with gratitude, you no longer need more to feel complete, because joy no longer comes from possession, but from perception. Gratitude is also a mirror for the soul. It teaches humility, reminding us that nothing in life truly belongs to us. Not breath, not opportunities, not even the people beside us. Everything is a gift, borrowed from time and fate. To be grateful is to honor that truth, to give respect back to life itself. Training gratitude does not make you complacent, it makes your striving peaceful. You still work, still grow, still dream, but not from fear or lack. You act out of appreciation for what already is, and a desire to make it even more beautiful. And so, remember the words of Marcus Aurelius, "Very little is needed to make a happy life." Happiness needs so little, only a grateful heart, a mind that knows enough, and a soul that cherishes each fleeting moment. For when you live with gratitude, you no longer chase happiness, you become it. 9. Train character, the true measure of the soul. There are things we cannot take with us when we leave this world: money, status, reputation. All of them will fade with time. The only thing that remains, the one that truly defines who we are, is character. No one can buy it, and no one can take it from you. Character is a silent legacy, carved from small choices, from doing what is right, even when no one is watching. Marcus Aurelius wrote in Meditations, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. Do not debate what it means to be good. Be good." That is the Stoic spirit. They do not talk about virtue, they live it. For the Stoics, character is not a declaration, but an inner discipline, forged through every decision, every reaction, every simple act of integrity. Epictetus said in Discourses, "First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. Decide the kind of person you want to be, then live in a way that honors that image." Character is not born overnight. It is forged like steel, through the heat of trial, the fire of failure, and the pressure of temptation. Each time you choose what is right in solitude, you polish the mirror of your soul. Seneca wrote in Letters from a Stoic, "I will govern my life and thoughts as if the whole world were to see one and read the other." To live and think as if the world could see both your actions and your heart, that is the transparency of an honest soul. True character is not what we display before others, it is how we live when no one is looking. To train character is to practice honesty with others, and above all, with yourself. In a world obsessed with image, fame, and performance, Stoicism calls us back to the root of human dignity, doing what is right simply because it is right, not because anyone is watching. For if you are kind only when observed, your kindness belongs not to you, but to the eyes of others. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." Our souls are tinted by the colors of our thoughts. Every thought, every act, every choice leaves its hue, and over time, those hues blend into the portrait of who we are. If you plant seeds of honesty, humility, and justice, your character will shine naturally, without the need for display. To cultivate character is to stay steadfast between what is right and what is easy. There will be moments when you must choose between comfort and integrity, between silent safety and a voice for what's just. The Stoic does not choose the easy path. They choose the right one, for they know that even a small wrong choice can bend the soul. Character is not measured by grand moments, but by the quiet refusals to compromise with what is base. Epictetus once said, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid." Those with strong character do not seek approval, for they know that true worth is not found in the crowd's applause, but in the peace of looking at oneself without shame. Training character is not a goal to reach, but a way to live. It begins with the smallest acts, keeping promises, telling the truth, helping without reward, working wholeheartedly even when unseen. Each right action is a brick in the fortress of the soul, and when that fortress stands firm, no accusation or falsehood can bring it down. Remember Seneca's words, "He who does good because it is good follows reason and virtue, and thus is truly free." The one who does good for the sake of goodness itself, guided by reason and virtue, is the only one who is truly free. Character is the only legacy untouched by time. When all fame and fortune fade, it is your character that will remain the final light that guides others, and the one that forever illuminates your soul. 10. Train inner peace when strength arises from stillness. There are moments when the world outside grows unbearably loud. News, social media, expectations, failures, they blend into a storm of noise that drowns out our peace of mind. We tell ourselves that if only circumstances changed, we'd finally be at ease. But the Stoics knew the truth. Peace is not something found outside, it's something created within. Marcus Aurelius wrote in Meditations, "Nowhere you can go is more peaceful, more free of interruptions than your own soul. Nowhere is quieter than the sanctuary of your own soul." Peace is not the absence of chaos, but the ability to remain calm within it. Like the ocean, its surface may rage with waves, yet deep beneath, the waters remain still. The Stoic trains the mind to become that deep ocean, unmoved by the tempests of life. They know they cannot control the wind, but they can always adjust their sails. As Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." What shapes your life is not what happens, but how you respond. Training inner peace begins with accepting that we cannot control the world. People change, fortunes shift, circumstances evolve. The more we cling, the less free we become. The Stoic does not escape life, they simply choose to respond with reason instead of emotion. When insulted, they do not rage. When loss strikes, they do not despair. They accept, then continue to live in accordance with their nature. Seneca taught in Letters from a Stoic, "A wise man is content with his lot, whatever it may be, without wishing for what he has not. The wise man is content with what he has, without craving what he lacks." This is not resignation, it is liberation. When you are no longer bound by desire, you are truly free. Inner peace arises the moment you stop letting external things define your worth. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself each morning, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, and to love. To simply exist is already a privilege. Once you realize this, everything else becomes lighter." The Stoics, aware of life's brevity, chose peace over bitterness, understanding over judgment, stillness over reaction. Inner peace is not the suppression of emotion, but the ability to witness emotion without being ruled by it. When anger arises, breathe and let it pass. When fear visits, smile and ask, "Is this truly so frightening?" That awareness keeps the mind untangled. The Stoic sees every day as training, every challenge as a test of whether they can stay centered amidst chaos. Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself. One who cannot master himself will never be free." And that freedom, mastery over one's mind, is the very essence of peace. When you are no longer pulled by emotion, swayed by others' opinions, or haunted by the past and future, that is when you truly begin to live. To train peace is to learn how to let go, to release control, judgment, and expectation. When we stop forcing life to fit our will, life begins to flow with ease. Seneca wrote, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." Most suffering comes not from events, but from our thoughts about them. When you release those illusions, the mind naturally returns to peace. And remember, peace is not weakness, it is the highest form of strength. It is the ability to smile in the storm, to stay confident in stillness, to keep a cool head among the heated. The Stoics did not seek peace to escape life, they cultivated peace to live it fully. As Marcus Aurelius affirmed, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." That is the truth of tranquility. Peace is power. My friend, we have just walked together through 10 Stoic journeys, from training the mind, emotions, and discipline to cultivating character and inner peace. These 10 journeys are not destinations, but daily paths to walk. True strength doesn't come from one moment of change, but from the quiet, consistent choices to live each day aligned with your values. Remember, life will never cease to test you, but you can always choose how to face it, with the calm of reason, the gratitude of the soul, and the self-mastery of one who truly knows themselves. Every morning is an opportunity to practice Stoicism, to grow stronger, wiser, and more at peace. If this video has touched you, share in the comments what you are training yourself in today. And if you found this journey meaningful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so together we can continue building a community of awakened minds. Thank you for listening. Live calmly, live with intention. And as the Stoics taught, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Farewell, and see you again on the next journey.